Bonji Vacorja. Hello, everyone. Eimear Burke here. Welcome to another Fireside Chat, where I'm in conversation with a member of the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids. And this is Fireside Chat 152. And as is customary, I start with a prayer for peace. Gamara Shiakon, ar fud na crinne. Gamara Shiakon, in our jaili agus in our jirha. Ganairi lin lanarkaj garamaka. Gamwij buika steve, jeha chivdaka, is spirit chivdaka. May peace prevail on earth. May peace prevail in our homes and in our countries. May our missions be accomplished. We thank you, guardian spirits and guardian deities, for peace. As the fever of day calms towards twilight, may all that is strained in us come to ease. We pray for all who suffered violence today. May an unexpected serenity surprise them. For those who risk their lives each day for peace, may their hearts glimpse providence at the heart of history. That those who make riches from violence and war might hear in their dreams the cries of the lost. That we might see through our fear of each other a new vision to heal our fatal attraction to aggression. That those who enjoy the privilege of peace might not forget their tormented brothers and sisters. That the wolf might lie down with the lamb, that our swords be beaten into plowshares, and no hurt or harm be done anywhere along the Holy Mountain, with thanks to John O'Donoghue. So lovely to see you all. Looking to see where people are from. Calgary, hi Sean, Nimi, John from Scotland, Ferdiad, lovely, Liz from the US, Ricky from London. It's just lovely to see familiar faces and new faces, or names, should I say, because I can't see your faces. Hertfordshire, Tampa, Florida. What's it like in Florida? It's dry. It's a little bit of blue sky, but it's mild here today. Mild as in 16 degrees centigrade. Penzance, Cornwall, Wyoming. That's Liz. Lovely to see you all. Just lovely. Where else? Pennsylvania. Monroeville. That's in Pennsylvania. Belgium. Lovely. Birmingham, New York, Richmond, Virginia. Sunny London, lovely to hear that. Windy New Forest. Anyway, California, wonderful. So today we are in the UK. We are going to Kent. And my guest this evening is Sam Holland. Sam, you're so welcome.
Thank you very much.
So now, this is what I learned today, is that you're not in a house. So you're actually you're in your studio, which is a boat. So just tell us a little bit about where you're situated.
Well, the boat that I'm sitting in is my studio. I also live on a boat next door, and we live on the River Medway, on the estuary of the River Medway, between as it goes out towards the sea, and then it mixes with the Thames. So not far from France, not far from London.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. And I'm just fascinated, you know, most of us live on land. And what's it like to be living on water and in a watery medium where obviously there's the boat underneath your feet, but it's not on solid ground. So what's that like?
Oh, well, I'm used to it now because I've been living on a boat, you know, most of my life now. It turns out, but it's like living on a creature, really, because as the tide comes in, the boat creaks and moves and sort of breathes, and the gangplank rises, and you heard that earlier. Yes. It creaks as the, you know, it pulls in and out on the ropes. So it is like, you know, living in a creature, really, and its big tall sides. And you said it felt like a whale. It does feel a bit like a whale.
Yeah, Ricky Gellison, the Medway was the river close to where he was born. Ricky now lives in London. Beautiful.
I'm in Upchurch.
Lovely. And Sean says, oh, I like that, living on a creature. It's true of the whole earth, but very evident on water. Beautiful, yeah. Beautiful. So is Kent your place of birth? Is that where you're from?
Yes, that's my place of birth. And I've been everywhere, but obviously, like we always do, we come back. Yes, and it's a very busy part of the world, but if you live on the water, you always have a little bit of freedom and a little bit of calm serenity, because that's what water, that's what waking up gives you. It's great.
So generally, what's your landscape? I know it's a watery landscape, but where you are in terms of the landscape,
It's
what is
salt
it like?
marsh. So
Okay.
so I live in a really interesting space. Where we are is salt marsh. If any of you have read Great Expectations, it is that sort of Magwitchy landscape on one side, and then there's a sea wall, and on the other side I have there's a huge grove of 22 oaks there, and there aren't very many oaks around here, but because the Victory was built in Chatham, which is only 5 miles away, a lot of oaks were planted and then harvested for boat building. But they reckon that the ones that are left here were left because they're very short and stubby and really funny shapes. So I've got about a 300-year mother tree with lots of babies around, but they're all a funny shape, and they were left. So it's it's a bit of a magical landscape right next to this sort of marsh.
Isn't it interesting how not conforming to the norm saves your life?
Exactly. Sometimes it does.
Everything's so interesting because you're twisted and gnarled and not fitting the bill. Oh, that is brilliant. That is brilliant. And do you use that grove of oak trees?
Yes. It's we have weddings there and hand fastings, but we only do one a week in the summer months because obviously it's very exposed here on the estuary. And so people say, oh, how romantic it would be to have a wedding here in December. They are wrong. It's cold and windy and wet and nasty. For a wedding, obviously.
Are the oaks on your land?
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, we're very lucky.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about your background. I know you're really interesting. That's why you're here.
Well,
very talented, etc. But
my path really to Druidry is very convoluted in a way, and it doesn't come from an overtly spiritual sort of yearning. In fact, I'm a bit of a damaged Catholic in lots of ways, so I sort of was avoiding any sort of organized spirituality, like the plague.
Yes.
What happened? A series of events sort of ancestry and art took me back to my father's place of birth, which is Ynys Môn in Anglesey in North Wales, and through getting a large sculpture commission there, I reconnected with all my sort of lost family because there had been a rift in the family, and I was encouraged, but also wanted to learn Welsh, and so my path to Druidry came through, the Anglesey Druid order and the urge to learn Welsh, really.
Wow, there's a comment here from Ferdiad. Recovering Catholics make great cake.
Yes, he's right.
And then there's another one from Sean, who's in Canada. Is there ever a straight line to here? We like winding roads in these parts. Absolutely. So, your father's family are Welsh, yeah?
Yes.
And was he a Welsh speaker?
Yes, he was a Welsh speaker until he was about 4, and then there was a break in the family, and he came down to Kent. But as children, we were put in the back of the old the Morris Traveller and taken up every summer holiday, and we spent the whole summer in Moelfre, in this part of Ynys Môn and Anglesey. And so it became part of my childhood, although it wasn't talked about because there was this big rift. And but incredibly, through fate or whatever it is that life, the universe, I was asked to tender for a sculpture of this chap called Dick Evans, who was a lifeboat coxswain, won the gold medal twice. It happened to be my tide, which is grandfather in Welsh, his best friend. And so I ended up doing the sculpture, and there was a wonderful sort of few years of mending relationships, and my father especially, I think, enjoyed, that reconnection with that part of himself, which, we were 6 hours drive from Anglesey here, and so it's not easy to get there. But it gave us an excuse, and of course, every time I went up there, he came with me, and he met all his mates and all the cousins, and it was great. Our Auntie Nancy, his Auntie Nancy, who he hadn't seen for a long time, she died when she was 106, but they reconnected when she was 90, so they had 16 years,
Lovely.
Which was lovely. Yeah.
Oh, brilliant, brilliant. And of course, so I know you're a member of the Anglesey Druid Order as well as Obod. So how did you find Druidry, and which came first? Or did you have another spiritual path between your Catholicism?
It came from, no, I haven't. I've never had, I've never had anything when I was 18. That was it for me. And then, but I've been interested in learning Welsh for about 30 years. It was so old. I found I've got an old book with a floppy disk in it. That's how long ago I started learning it. And so it was really reading. I think the turning point was a relative of mine gave me the Sioned Davies Mabinogi to read, and I think that probably sparked my the spiritual yearning, but it was through the Welsh language, and so I now try to read that in Welsh, though I'm pretty rubbish at it. But that and you can feel it when you read it in the first tongue language. It means a lot more, and that's what I've always been striving for, I suppose. And then everything else came along the way. On the journey to get to that point, I've met the most wonderful people and had the most amazing, enlightened moments.
And in terms of your Welsh now, do you speak it comfortably for conversation? Can you have like nuanced conversations in Irish?
I can. I'd love to learn Irish, but I've got to nail Welsh first.
That's right. I'm the same about Welsh. I have to.
So I have a problem with performance, and I don't know if anybody else. We were sort of touching on this earlier. I'm not a performer. I find I can gabble away to myself, in Welsh really confidently. And as soon as I speak to a native Welsh speaker, I just go completely dry and I cannot think of anything, but I know it. And I think that is, but I'm going to Eisteddfod and I'm going to be there for 3 days, and I'm going to force myself to speak Welsh. And then after a little while, and after, a couple of glasses of wine, it sort of just comes out. But I found a fantastic way of learning Welsh for people who aren't very good at because I'm not particularly good at learning language in a classroom sort of situation, but I discovered Say Something in Welsh, which was actually life-changing. If anybody out there wants to learn Welsh, it's a great tool. It's called Say Something in Welsh. And it's you listen and repeat, and it's a brilliant way to learn, which is, of course, how we learn our own mother tongue. The listening and repeating. Say something in Welsh, all one word.
Oh, all one word. Okay.
Yeah. And it's great. Just look it up on the. But I think they do other languages now.
Okay, I'll just put that up.
But it was a real turning point for me.
Well, it's really interesting you say that. So we learn Irish in school from primary school right up. Now I loved it. I always did. So I had good Irish teachers in primary school, and then I had a native Irish speaker in secondary school, but I spent term in the Gaeltacht in Connemara, where at the time the children didn't speak English. And so I was completely immersed. And I was by the time I left, I was dreaming in Irish. Went to secondary school, but then I was speaking English, but just with my teacher Irish. And then I didn't use it for years and years and years, and it all disappeared. And like you, someone would speak to me in Irish and I'd freeze and I'd know it. I was always kind of maybe 3 sentences behind. Of course, I know the Irish word for sandwich. Of course, I know how to say it, but all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then there was a competition between a television competition. They were trying to get villages, towns in Ireland to start speaking Irish again. So they had these teams, and there was a competition. They were pairing up towns, and my local village is Freshford, and they were paired up with a town in Mayo. And I was asked, would I do a summer solstice ceremony in Irish? And I thought, can I do that? And I got some help. And I worked in the translation we did. They never showed it on the TV program. But the point is, that got me to get my finger out.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I started translating, the Druid's Prayer and other prayers into Irish. And then I went on Duolingo. I was actually doing Duolingo. That was it. That brought my confidence back, because Duolingo is not about grammar. It's just about giving you words and sentences. And now I do. And my one regret is that my children, because I home educated them, my Irish wasn't good enough to speak Irish to them.
Yeah.
If it was now, I would be speaking. Now, my daughter she went to an Irish secondary school. She went at 14. She started school for the first time and went to an Irish language school. And my son has never been to school, so he doesn't have any Irish. And that's one regret I have.
Yeah.
Because you were saying about reading the Mabinogi in Welsh, that somehow reading a text in the first language, how beautiful that is. Now, is it written in modern Welsh, or is it written in Old
Middle Welsh? It's in Middle Welsh, but it's near enough to understand.
Okay.
Well, it's yes. But I always have this translation next to me anyway.
But
I can only read bits of it. Yeah.
But even with that is brilliant. But I have to thank my Druidry.
Yes,
for getting me back to the Irish language. And it's really interesting, Obod being a UK-based.
Yes.
But it got me back to even the Irish myths. I thought, obviously we have the Gwyn backstory, but all the others, I thought, I can't be looking at those. I have to sort my own out. A bit like you saying, you'd love to learn Irish, but to sort the Welsh out. And I'm the same. But I really, really thank that Druidic influence getting me back into Irish and into my own mythology.
Yes. And the ADO, there's a huge amount of the material in Welsh, and you're encouraged to try to learn Welsh, and all the the prayers and the rituals always have a multilingual part to them, and that's really important for me, because the Welsh language led me to that path. And so it's exciting.
It is. And we just had our Beerog retreat in Donegal at the weekend. And so I'd introduced in the ritual more Irish. Because we were all OBOB members, I didn't have to explain, because people knew what it was. I was just saying that, taking 3 breaths, but I did it in Irish without having to translate into English.
Yeah.
Because everybody knew what to do.
Because
That's right. And it's just lovely. And what really, I think there's so many, there's people here now saying they're all learning Welsh on Duolingo, and they find how much they love it. And I find the same people who aren't Irish, even if they're not of Irish ancestry, but like Italians or whatever, wanting to learn Irish because of the magic of the language. And it's the same with Welsh. And then Julia says, I'd love to learn Cornish for my ancestry, but don't feel it will be of any use. Welsh would probably be better. No time, though. I think
Welsh and Cornish are incredibly similar. They are very much sister languages. And at some point, say something in Welsh did also say something in Cornish. So she might want to have a look at that. But
yes, because she's thinking maybe Welsh should be more use. The thing about learning a language, though, is that you need to be using it. And
you do.
If you can't find somebody to speak it to, send texts in the language you're learning. I learned Italian. I started 7 years ago in Duolingo, 8 years now. I speak Italian. I've never been to an Italian class. I learned it on Duolingo, and I have Italian OBOD friends, and I speak to them. And I also, so I will text in Italian, email, and that gives me time. What's the word for it? I can look, so I'm calm, not stumped.
Rather than, and when native speakers speak to you, they come at, if they know you can speak the language, they come at you at 1,000,000 miles an hour.
Absolutely.
I know. And there's
enthusiasm.
Yeah, and you have to actually have a little stock phrase, which is, you're speaking, can you slow down? And that's great. If you say it in that language, it's a sort of like breathing spot in the very same way that texting is. That's
right. So all of that, texting and writing it gives you a chance to check up the word. And then so if you're like, well, what grammatically, what would that be? And it just gives you that little, because you're always learning. And I find that really, really helpful. Now, Liz says, now that's interesting, Liz. I found that learning Irish has been great for ancestral healing. That's a very interesting thing to say. And thank you for saying that. There's something about language that connects you back to your roots. And Ferdiad says, I see Welsh, Cornish and Manx on Say Something In. Now, Manx is closer to Irish.
The Irish, because it's the Goidelic rather than
it's New Celtic. So Scots Gaelic, Irish, and Manx are similar, and then you have the Welsh, Cornish, and Breton. And Yvonne says, "This is why I'd like to learn Breton and French." Absolutely, go for it.
Yeah,
and it starts off with the simplest things. Hello, how are you? Please, thank you, good night, good day. And, all these things have been translated, as OBOD members, you're talking about the Druid's Prayer will have been translated into all of those languages.
Yeah.
You start with those little things, just the smallest thing, because that's what you did with your mother tongue. Well, it was usually Mama and Dada or Papa.
Yeah.
And you start off with it.
And it's the repetition. It's the repetition. Yeah. And it's funny because it shows, I don't know a lot about the brain, but if you start learning a language, I did French A-level, and as I'm sometimes trying to think of a Welsh word, a French word will pop up because it's obviously in the same, you're using the same little brain muscles. I don't think they're called muscles, but you know what I mean.
Yes, I understand what you mean. Something says, hello from California. How many languages related to the British Isles? Well, I'm not sure what you mean by British Isles, but so you've Gaelic in the north, in Scotland, you've Scots Gaelic, you'll have Welsh and Wales.
Cornish.
There's a little bit of Cornish. I think they thought that
there is revival.
It's coming back. How many people are actually? I don't know. It was a few years ago. Oh, it was all gone, and then it's like, no, it's back. It's coming back. There might be. I don't think you'll have households, speaking Cornish, but this is how it comes back. And then in Manx, and then Ireland is not in the British Isles. It happens to be adjacent to it. So there are areas within Ireland that they speak Irish, but there are different dialects. So
is that called the Gaeltag?
The Gaeltacht, yeah. So
sorry.
A Gaeltacht is sorry. No, fine. I understood what you meant.
Because I saw it when we were doing our tour of
that's right. So in Falcara, where we were,
yes,
that's a Gaeltacht area, and Tory Island is a Gaeltacht area. That's Tirchonel, which is an old word it means the land of Connell, and now called Donegal, Donegal, the fort of the stranger. That's a Gaeltacht area. And then you've Connemara, dialect is different. And then you have Munster, Cork, Kerry, and a little pocket in Waterford. And then in Meath, it's a small little Gaeltacht area where people from Connemara migrated. There was some kind of government scheme so they could move to a place of employment, and that might have been in the 40s maybe, and that's a Gaeltacht area. But now it's, there's a greater, they were talking, it's a dead language. It's not, it's an EU language. And now more and more people and younger people are now saying, I don't want to lose it, I don't want to lose it. I think the way of teaching it in Ireland has changed. It used to be, and I think it was a legacy from colonial times, is that, so Irish was banned, so children would be beaten. There was awful stories about kids that have to have a tally stick around their neck. And if they were caught speaking Irish, there would be a notch cut on it.
That's exactly the same in Welsh. There was a thing with Welsh not.
That's right, they'd be beaten. So my grandparents never had any Irish. So when we got independence, it was like, okay, we'll revive the language, but we're going to do it properly. So then they were like so rigid with grammar and all of that. So in many ways, they were beating the Irish back into the children and turned them off. And unless you had an ease and a facility with acquiring language, if you didn't, you struggled. So a lot of people would say, oh, you know, I've been traumatized by learning Irish. Now the emphasis is different. It's like, just speak. We have what is it? It's far Gaeilge Brista no Berla Clishta. Broken Irish is better than clever English. So that just speak. And if you haven't got the word in Irish, use an English word. And the emphasis, so children now are not as frightened of Irish as my generation would have been.
No.
But, you know, it's and then even in the universities, there are there are courses in the Irish language in the technology departments. They're not linguistics. It's seen that having a degree in the Irish language in a technological area is seen as valuable.
Yeah.
And the Orcadian is it's very much, somebody mentioned in the Orkneys. I was up there. It's a mixture of Norse. There's a slight bit of Gaelic there, but it's mostly, I suppose, more heavily influenced with Norse from the Norse people.
Oh, yeah.
So anyway, and then so somebody says this Kernawick is being learnt by more than 4,000 pupils in 23 schools across the county. Very good.
Oh, that's
brilliant. Great. Yeah. And then somebody says Mango I never heard of Mango, is a good source for learning Gaeilge, especially if you want to approach it through the Connacht dialect. I love the Connacht, that's my bias, but anyway. And then Ricky says, when in foster care, my brothers and I were banned from speaking German as our foster parents decided we were scheming behind their backs. Oh my God.
Oh.
Sad as that. Yeah. And you know, it's lovely, particularly children, if you're in foster care, you do need a secret language. You know, just even to be able to speak privately, it's lovely to have that if you're in a situation that isn't particularly benevolent. Yeah. So, so your ancestors are from Unasman. You're a member of the Anglesey Druid Order, and you are a member of Hobart. Which came first?
ADO, the Anglesey.
Oh, okay.
Yes, because I didn't even know that OBOD existed. It was all Welsh driven. So, you know, you know, I don't know if anybody here, apart from, you know, Christopher Hughes is an amazing.
Oh yeah.
I don't even know. He's an entity. He is just such an inspiration. And of course, and so he really fired up my Druidic and my Welsh seeking yearnings, I think. And what has happened through that is that everything in my art is coalescing. So my sculpture is now, so my Druidic path and my artistic path are now coalescing, and it's becoming more and more evident because that's what I'm thinking about all the time. And it's just a lovely feeling to know where you're going, you know, or to have an idea where you're going. I've done a lot of commissions in my life. You know, strangely, a lot of them to do with water and the sea. But you know, you follow a commission, and you know, and it's great, but it takes a year. And so I've been sort of, you know, and I'm at a situation now where people say, "Would you like to do the sculpture?" And it's a wonderful position to be in. But I think what I'm, you know, it's evident now in the last couple of years that I've got a huge body of work that has been influenced by Druidism, and that is the path to sculpture now.
That is beautiful. And you have beside you Carr-Gomm there.
Yes.
So do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So this is a scale model of Carr-Gomm. And I don't know if you can you see her? Yes, you can.
Yes.
I'll just move her that way. Oh no, this way. It's in the mirror, isn't it? So I've tried to capture her, at the moment when she's turning back from the red-crested black hen back into a woman. And I wanted to catch this moment because it seems to me to be the sort of the moment in the whole of the tale of Taliesin, because she, at this point, she has just murdered Gwyonbach by eating him as a grain of wheat. And at that very moment, she is impregnated by his entity. And so it's life and death in one, ecstatic moment. And so she's, almost in the bird-like figure, these are her vestiges of wings becoming arms. And I wanted to call it quickening. There is a Welsh word for it, but it is the moment when, the egg and the sperm become alive, and it is the moment of quickening, and it is the moment where everything happens, and there isn't another moment of beginning like that. And so I just wanted to keep that. It is one moment, but it is the story in one moment, if you see what I mean. And she's on the cauldron of inspiration, and the story of the chase is on the
oh, lovely,
on the cauldron. I don't know if I can show you.
This is, you had this at the gathering because Christopher. Oh my goodness!
So you have the hare and the.
Oh yes, and the greyhound, and then you have the salmon and the otter.
And if I can, and then you have the hawk and the wren there.
Oh, lovely.
Wow! But this is to scale model. So I'm making her 7 foot, 7.5 foot, and this is her head.
Oh my goodness! Is that the actual head?
This is her head scaled up.
Wow!
So she's going to be huge.
Wow!
That should be more like. Get my angles right here.
Is that clay or is that?
No, this resin? Is actually this is a resin type material. Yeah.
Wow.
Yes.
So I'm just thinking of you in your boat. How do you make something 7 foot tall in your boat?
Well, all these panels, I've got panels above me that lift out, and I can crane things in and out.
Go away!
So,
wow.
Yeah.
There are lots of beautiful comments. That was a fascinating moment to pick. Very striking, very haunting. That's beautiful. You caught that moment so well. It's very moving. Wow, she's beautiful. So lots of wonderful comments.
Yes, I mean.
Oh my God! And this is Gabriella, because she saw it. She must have been at Christopher's talk at the gathering. You were the artist who made that Carr-Gomm figure. That is a brilliant sculpture, and I was wondering who made it. It gives such a breath of air and fire to the usual figurines. Yeah.
Yes, that's what happened. We go to Lake Bala every year, part of the ADO, where we concentrate on Ceridwen and possibly meeting her if you can. The symbols on her legs are these are the forts in these are the forts in the poems of Taliesin. They're Caersiddi, Carr-Penarfen, and it's all in it's in the tale of in the poems of Taliesin. They're symbols for the forts.
Okay.
Yeah. See, I don't know if you can see. And these are and Chris Hughes wrote a book about Ceridwen, and these are symbols about to do with, and they're cauldron-based symbols. I don't know if I'm going to have them in the big thing, in the main thing. I might have other things. It's just that I've done the dark and the light, and these are the Triskelion behind her. This is very much a sort of working model.
And where is it going to be? Where is she going to be placed?
I don't know yet. I would love her to be in Lake Bala, but I'm just going to make her because I had a very interesting, a couple of years ago, I had a very interesting moment in Lake Bala where the vision of her, of this idea, came to her almost fully formed during one of our rituals. And she is very much different from any of other Ceridwen sculptures that you might see, because they tend to have a sort of cloaked figure stirring a cauldron. But I think as the mother, Mamarawen, she's called, mother of inspiration, and she is from the cauldron. She's not stirring it. She is of the cauldron, and I think that's where she belongs, as an integral part of the cauldron of inspiration.
It's beautiful, beautiful. And she's going to be 7 feet high. Okay.
Well, yes, probably. She's going to be 7.25, and the cauldron is probably going to be 3 foot high. So she's going to be more like 10 foot as a finished piece.
Wow.
And eventually I'd like her in bronze, but she'll be in this sort of resiny type thing for a while until I can con somebody into giving me the money to make in bronze, because it costs a lot of money. So
is this not a commission?
No, this is just me. This is just me.
Okay. So hence the need to con.
Yeah,
okay, well,
this is.
Con. I mean,
yeah. If anybody is my client, it is Ceridwen herself. I had no choice. It was, you have to sort of make them,
Absolutely beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Do you have any other pieces there with you?
No, they're all in the other room. I recently did. Did you see the Hendy head that I did?
I did, that Christopher had. Yes.
Yes. I have another sculpture that is I'm doing after this, which is inspired also from the Mabinogi, which is it's going to be called Sovraniaeth, which is Welsh for sovereignty, yes. Okay. And it's to do with the sovereign nature of Arawn, king of the of Annwfn, and the unnamed queen. And my reading of the Mabinogi, I've come to realize, is that all the creatures and all the women and all the men in those books are just those two individuals. And so there will be two figures, and the story will be again tattooed on them, but it is their relationship between Arawn and the unnamed queen, because almost at the I'm going a bit off piece here, but the story is almost, every part of the story is about their relationship with each other and with the land.
Do you know this? Can you tell the story? Can you tell the story?
Oh, well, of the Mabinogi.
No, it's just Arawn and the unnamed queen.
So Arawn, in the first branch, Arawn and his unnamed queen never actually, they don't interact with each other. I think what happens is throughout the whole of the 4 branches is that there's a stage in which the people are playing their parts, and that's the sort of essence of the sculpture I'm going to make.
I don't understand you.
Okay, I know it. Arawn, the king of Annwfn, and the unnamed queen, she never has a name. In my opinion, he is all of those characters. He's Pwyll, he's Pryderi, he's Manawydan, he's all of those characters, and he's Lle, and he's the hounds, he's the stag. The unnamed queen is essentially Rhiannon, and she is Blodeuedd, and she's Ternon's wife, and she is so all of the male and female characters can be solidified into these two people. And so my idea is to to have them opposite each other with the story of the male and the female on them. But of course, it's not really male and female. It's the sovereignty of the land and the sort of husbandry of the land, if you see what I mean. It's that relationship. There's a lot going on in it, but it's going to be a similar size to that, so they'll both be about 7.5 foot. But it's my
Wow.
next.
Is that a commission or again one of your
No,
own?
that's me. Yeah.
Okay. Brilliant. Just David has a comment. It's too long to read, so I'll put it up here. What a wonderful teaching tool. I think this is how knowledge was conveyed before the advent of writing. Similar to the role of medieval cathedrals, which could be seen as huge sculptures. You can learn so much so quickly with something like your amazing work.
Oh, thank you very much.
Lovely. Absolutely beautiful. So we're going to be going in another few minutes over to the hearth, but just to we're going to talk about, we'll do that later, about being a bard, etc. on the hearth. But when did you join OBOD then, and why? When you already have
during the pandemic. I'm very isolated down here. There's not very much druidry. It happens in inside the M25. It's a void. And so I was a long way from Anglesey, and I couldn't get there. And so those 2 years, really, 2.5 years, I felt quite isolated. And because I could do the course, at a distance, it was great. And I learned a lot. I've only just finished the Bardic course. And I finished sort of reading it, but I haven't actually done the end bit.
Okay, and we can talk about that later. But so it's interesting. It was during the pandemic. I think a lot of people joined the order then, which really helped because it's by distance, that to ease, because people were so isolated. Can you hear me? You have frozen, so I am just wondering if you can hear me.
Hello, I'm back.
And you're back. Yes, I was. I don't know if you heard me. I was just saying that you said you joined the order during the pandemic, and a lot of people did. And I think in many ways I hadn't appreciated it until the pandemic. That how many members of our order are isolated, but now more and more people joined, and because of our online capabilities, that people have been able to reach out and meet each other. And at the time, the only place for many of us was to meet was online, and what a lifeline that was. And that has continued because we're doing this.
Yes,
still have these, and yet it's also lovely to be able to meet physically and stand in circle in a ceremony, or gathering, or a retreat. It's still very, very important, and it's both of them have huge value, which is absolutely wonderful.
Yeah, it was. I was great to be at this summer gathering, which is my first summer gathering, but it was incredibly exciting, and I felt part of a bigger thing. I'm always part of the ADO, but it was sort of the ADO was being encompassed almost as well by the OBOD, and it was great.
Yeah, and I think with the order, there are so many ADO members.
Yeah.
And then I saw somebody in the audience, or one of the viewers here is in the BDO, and you get that, joint membership as well. And, it's just wonderful that within OBOD, you can be a member of anything, and nobody, it's like you can be.
That's what's great.
That you can join in. You can be a member of any spiritual path or any organization, which is absolutely beautiful. So we've come to the end of our time on this public platform, and I just want to say what a joy it's been to, and just to have another look at your Carridwen. And of course, hearing your explanation of her this time, it was just absolutely beautiful. So I'll allow you to say goodbye, and then for the rest of us as OBOB members, I'll meet you over in the Hearth in another 5 minutes. We'll go live there again. So I'll allow you say goodbye.
Thank you very much. Thank you for your kind words.
Great. So lots of thank yous as well. Okay. So meet you on the other side. It sounds like through the veil. Okay. And there's nice Welsh good nights and things like that. So that is brilliant. I'm afraid to say anything because my accent is it Diolch yn fawr? Fawr?
Diolch yn fawr. Thank you very much.
Diolch yn fawr. Okay, I like the yn fawr bit because I'm very polite. Okay, so listen, I'll see you then. Bye-bye, everybody, and see you next week for another Fireside Chat. And I'd say have another lovely evening or morning or afternoon, or if you're watching a recording of this chat. So look forward to seeing you all next week. And until then, slán go fóill.